Good afternoon. Well, hello, panel. We have a very large panel this afternoon. And actually, as Divya said, I think this is a topic close to many of our hearts because creativity, talent is something that we have been talking about all day. And actually, the original title of this panel was, in fact, Nurturing the Talents of Tomorrow. And we have here a young talent, as well as experts and longtime advocates of brands in many different sort of forms and platforms. So I'm very curious to hear their advice. And I guess the first question I wanted to pose is really to Antonella and Sophie, because both of them have been longtime advocates, advisors, creators, sitting on many different prizes for young designers. So the LVMH prize we just saw that Sophie has been instrumental in. ITS, which is the International Talent Support Prize that the OTB group has been a big supporter of, as well as the U prize that we're going to talk to Peng about. And so to Sophie and to Antonella, through these prizes, your companies, the sort of larger groups that you work for, LVMH and OTB, have supported many decades worth of young talents. And I'm curious, how have your roles as mentors through these prizes, how have they sort of evolved?
Thank you for the question. I've mentored actually more than 25 designers over the 10 years of the LVMH prize, so it's been an honor and also very interesting because in a way I think it's like, I hope my mentoring is like French good wine, like getting better every year because I see so many situations. And it's true that it's a very organic mentoring I do, so I really adapt to the designer. And over the years, of course, I've added more topics because some topics have become much more important. Typically social media, when I started mentoring, it was like nice to have. Now it's like you need to have and you need to understand how to make it work. So I have people from Facebook speak, Instagram, TikTok, for example. And also personal communications. This maybe at the beginning I didn't realize how important it was, and in fact, and we're going to speak about that, but it's so important the way you present yourself. So I also have a training by an expert on how they can answer to journalists, how they can speak, and that's very useful. And actually now I'm also doing it for the semi-finalists when they go to the final, so they are in a better position to speak to the jury. And the last thing is sustainability. Of course, again, it was, I think, nice to have 10 years ago. Now it's like really need to have. So we actually have also experts speaking on this subject. They have the possibility to speak along to this expert, for the full year, and also to take some dead stock material from LVMH brands that are through a company called Nona Source. So they have a possibility to take some dead stock to produce less and be more sustainable.
And Antonella, you're in this interesting position where through OTB you have seen with the ITS prize many young talents, but you've also nurtured a lot of creative directors within the group itself. And then also with the U prize, which is, Asia specific, which gives you a completely different perspective to the European perspective and prize. So I'm curious how those experiences have also shaped sort of how you approach nurturing young talent.
Yeah, well, I want to start by saying that fostering creativity is one of the key pillars of OTB mission. It started right from our founder and chairman, Vincent Rosso, who from his early beginnings started supporting young designers and young talent. He truly believes that without creativity, there is no company. So without true creativity, there is no fashion. So you might as well look for new creativity and support new creativity. We try to do it as seriously as we can. It's not a PR exercise, if you see what I mean. It's really part of our responsibility towards the industry. And I want to say part of our legacy as well. Mentoring has changed dramatically. So we work, as you said, we work with different prices over the years. We have had the chance to encounter talent like Demna or Mathieu Blasi at ITS. This is a prize for design students. So they weren't even designers yet. We had the chance to meet, and then we hire them at Margiela. We had a chance to meet Glenn Martens at the Andam Prize, which we also support. And now Glenn is doing an amazing job at Diesel. And then we had the luck to meet Chen at the U Prize 2 years ago. And we actually also worked together on a beautiful collaboration. Mentoring this young talent has changed, has evolved. Some things have stayed the same. So sometimes they do ask the typical questions like, where do I produce? How do I distribute? How do I grow my business? How do I merchandise my collection? But right now, as you were saying, there's a lot of new areas that they need mentoring on. You mentioned social media. I can mention Web3. But sustainability is also, as you said, a big chunk. That is why, for instance, this year, we literally offered to the finalists, not even the winners, but the whole finalists of the Andam Prize, a 2-hour workshop with our Chief Sustainability Officer, who basically in 2 hours tried to share with them all the knowledge that we as a group have gathered over the last 2.5 years of working. I say 2.5 years because that's when she joined, but we have been doing work before, obviously. So we've been sharing this information, and we are at their disposal for questions and things like this. I want to say also something else. We always talk about creative talent, and that's very important. I think another area that's quite interesting is the people in the middle, the people who make the things, the prototypists, the pattern makers. These are also talents that we tend to forget, and they are disappearing because it's a job. There are jobs that are not visible to the end consumer, but they're so fundamental. I have a friend who's a designer in China, and he had to hire a pattern maker from Italy. And they're disappearing. So, for instance, one thing that we're also doing as a group, we have our own academy. We're really showing the beauty of the making of things, not just the envisioning and the designing, but also the making of the products. It's that whole part between the glam of the shows and the creative directors and the products in the store that you go and buy is actually unseen. So we want to make that seeable as well.
That's such a great point, actually. The makers themselves, and I think so many brands and some platforms are starting to really consider that as well in terms of the support. I'm going to get to you soon, Alexis, but actually with Peng, I would love to we have a creative talent on our panel, and your brand has been going now several years, but like Antonella said, a couple of years ago, you won the U Prize. Yes. And I'm curious, how have these kind of schemes allowed you either to widen your network, find a mentor? How has it helped your own brand and business develop?
Because for me, I think it's easy to find a mentor when you join the prize. Like Antonella, we met in the U Prize, and Sophie, we met in LVMH Prize, because it's a big platform for young designers know each other, and we lack of experience because they some of them from the luxury brand or big brand, commercial brand, they got they have a different experience. Like Antonella has PR experience, Sophie has the management experience. But for us, when we meet them, they taught us like in the different way. Like when we met with Antonella.
Did she give you good advice?
Yes, of course.
I hope so.
Yeah. Antonella suggests me like how to do your brand with the different distributions, how to do like the PR work with the different, the countries, fashion week. And when we join to LVMH Prize, we have to learn how to communication with a journalist. Yeah. But for the designer, how they, when we join the prize, how we find the way to learn it. It should be like when we're doing the project, we can learn it from the project. Like we collaborate with Messa Magella and MX6. We visit Magella's warehouse, learn how they running their story, their cutting department, and we have a dinner together to sharing the experience together, sharing the story together, how we to do the storytelling for our customer.
You met Mr. Rosso.
Yeah.
So that sounds like there's a lot of advantages. And I guess, Alexis, creativity is at the root of every single one of our businesses, whether media, talent, brands and houses, or marketplace and retail. How do you guys mentor or support young brands, young creatives in terms of using kind of the best technology in order to help propagate and develop brands?
I think we can take a step back and look at our Asian structure from a platform perspective. So in Asia, the way FARFETCH and in China, FARFETCH increased its business was originally to acquiring a company we co-founded a couple of years ago called Curiosity. Curiosity China is a B2B company. So what they do, they are the brand behind the brands. They are a company that are facing entrepreneur brands and run their communication, run their tech developments, run the way to scale their business on a marketplace, but also on digital in general. So when we face a designer, when we face a brand, we speak, I would say, the same language. We know what to do, we know how it costs because we do it ourselves. So we have the capability to advise in a very, very specific way. This is what you should do from a brand perspective. This is how you should cooperate with platforms. No matter it's a wholesalers, a little bit like Net-a-Porter, they buy your stock. No matter it's a marketplace like FARFETCH, they do not buy your stock, but they're going to scale you up globally. So going back to your questions on the way we help, if you are a young designer, if you don't have yet a massive capability to run large production, to run your own communication at scale, you basically focusing on your art, on your craftsmanship, one thing we could recommend is work via the wholesalers, work via the boutiques. On the FARFETCH side, this is how we start. In 2008 in London, we start to work with the boutique. We connect our technology to their stock, we drive traffic globally, and then we sell. Every time we sell, we take a commission. So one of the very pragmatic advices we have for young designers, we are going to connect you with the network of boutiques we have globally. It's almost 1,000. In Asia, we work with top guys. In Japan will be Amore. In Korea will be Adecouver. In Hong Kong will be Top Honor or Joyce. In China will be Look Now, or, One Block. So we're gonna put you in touch with them. Some of the time you work already with them, but via the boutique, you can sell on the marketplace, and then the marketplace will give you the exposure, the visibility globally that you cannot have on your own as a single designer. So that's the kind of advising we're going to give.
And I think visibility is something that we talked about, or how key it is. And I'm curious from any of you, actually, these schemes and the prizes, you become a semi-finalist, you become a finalist, you become the winner, and there's a lot of visibility that these schemes give to designers. It's a lot of work to apply for them. But I am curious, sometimes the spotlight, there is a challenge sometimes to being under the spotlight and also having the expectations of building then a business, usually quite quickly. I think a lot of people celebrate fast scale and big business and developing, which is not, as we've heard from Philip, from Caroline so often, sometimes that's not always the best. And I'm curious how you guys approach either talking to young talents about sort of that balance, or even Peng, how you think about it in terms of building your own business when sometimes the spotlight is on you and you've got all these awards and people are saying, what are you going to do next? You know, how do you think about that? Maybe we can start with you, Peng.
Because I think for the designer, we should be really, really calm down. Because if you got lots of the spotlight, it's, in some way, it's not good for the brands if you are not ready. Lots of the LVMH prize winner, several years, they stopped their brand because they are not ready for the huge spotlights. Because when you get the big visibility, and then it means you got like big, really, really big business. You got lots of orders from the buyers, the boutique, but you don't know how to do the mass production. It's not good for you. But the big group, sometimes they will support you, but some of times we couldn't know how to do. That's why we already talked. The mentor is really important for the young designers. Another way I think should be like if you already know what stage you are and you are really strategic what you are going to do. It's really important for the young designers when we get spotlight.
I want to say that Peng is actually a great example of, we were talking about it last night. I think when you win an award, when you have that spotlight on you, it can kill you both ways. It can kill you if you overdo it, but it can kill you also if you underdo it, and because you then become just a winner of a prize. I think in your case, I think you were very good at building good momentum. You already had a sound company behind you, but you went from winning the award and not so many people outside of China knew about you to designing the uniforms for the China team in the Olympics. From there on, you did the show in Paris, and then you did the collaboration with Margiela, and up to dressing Cardi B for the Met Gala. I mean, that was an amazing.
That was good visibility.
Yes, but it was good because he's not just the winner of the U Prize, if you see what I mean. The U Prize gave him a spotlight, but then he was very good at using it in a way.
Yeah. But Sophie, for example, you've said 10 years, 25 designers and young brands that you've seen come through this. And as Peng is saying, some thrive and some find it very challenging because sometimes the infrastructure isn't there. How do you tend to work with young designers? Is it different depending on the stages of the brand, or do you find that everybody, there are certain key things that you always tell them?
Yes, as I was explaining, I really adapt to their business and who they are. And, it's mentoring, so I'm not forcing anything. So if you have a brand that I actually had, when I mentored Doublet, they didn't want to expand outside Japan, and that was fine. I think everybody has a different speed, and we have to respect that. Some people want to go very fast, and there is danger in going too fast, and some people want to take it slowly, and that's fine too. There's just not one way to Rome. It's very important, and sometimes they are not organized to grow fast, and of course, like one of the pitfalls is to deliver late. So in that case, you have to be careful not to take on too many orders. So you don't need, in that case, to contact too many buyers. Just do what you can do with the buyers you already have, and maybe just push more visibility. Sometimes you are very well organized, and then you can take on a lot of buyers, but then you have to be careful to have enough cash, because then it's a question of financing with working capital. So it's quite complex in reality, and it's really about finding the right momentum for the brand. And this is why there's not one solution. Sometimes if they do too many things the year they win the prize, then the year after it feels like too slow, and then it's bad for them also. So it's about really also not overdoing the year of the LVMH prize, because they still need to be new again the year after and be visible also the year after. For example, a show is very expensive, and I don't always recommend a show. If they don't have enough money to pay for a show, what's the point of doing a show 1 year and then after the prize they can't do a show anymore? So maybe it's about a presentation, and then they do a show when they can finance a show. So that's really what I try to adapt. And again, it's mentoring, it's advising, it's an exchange. We impose nothing.
Peng, when have you found your mentors have been most helpful to you?
Most helpful.
Yeah, when does that happen? Like, you know, Sophie's talking about cash flow. She's talking about keeping the momentum, you know, balanced. It's not too much on one side or too little of another. She's talking about late deliveries. Like, when do you tend to reach out to your mentors?
I think most important is experience is really important, because money we will get. If we are strong enough, we will get it. We will get the cash flow. If you are really mature, you're thinking really clearly, fine. Because when we, just like Antonella, mentoring for my business, he's really experienced. Tell me this stage, what you are going to do, something you are not to do. It's really under risk. But I think it's most important is experience. From the mentoring, rather than the money. Yeah.
Right. And finding that experienced mentor. But Alexis, coming back to you and what you see, you know, you guys have a lot of data. In your experience, like, what have you seen that you try to import and tell and sort of advise to designers who are ready, I guess, to take on the potential of scaling up the business using a marketplace like FARFETCH? You know, at what point do you think?
Yeah, one element we just mentioned it before is it's easy for a designer to be distracted, on what to do, and I think part of your job is to say no, and with the help of the advisors. Sometimes we do see designers who didn't put any flag anywhere, meaning if I come from Japan, I need to be very strong in Japan, and I focus on Japan, on Japanese customer, and from there only, when I check the boxes, I can expand. Sometimes we don't see that. We do see young brands trying to go a little bit everywhere. So one of the advice usually we share is, where are you really strong? Where can you have this almost CRM one-to-one communication with your customers, your brand ambassadors? We mentioned that theme this morning. And from there you can scale. So going back to your question, the way to work with platform, I think one, leverage the traffic they have, because this is a traffic you won't get as a young designers, as an entry or mid-sized brand. So I would say any brand who will do from 0 to 50 million US, there's a lot of exposure they cannot get on their own. Leverage the platform for that, because they will expose your collection, your product to the right target audience. This is worth a lot of money. Now the question is, how can you do that? Well, it goes to soft skills. Every single platform, they have teams managing brands. Let's say account managers. You need to be best buddies with the account managers, literally. You need to be on the top of their mind. They wake up in the morning, they are thinking about your brands, OTB, Patou, and so on, because they will give resources to you. You will be a pilot. They will create IPs. They will have marketing campaign. They need brands. And they need brands sometime that are, I will say, easy to pitch. Because if I go to, you know, Margiela or very big LVMH structure brands, you know by heart that the headquarter will decide, and then you need to have 30-slide PowerPoint. You need to speak French or Italian. It's going to take 2 months. So sometimes if I work with you, you can say yes or no immediately. It will save my time from a platform perspective. So that's, I would say, the second advice. The third advice, try to be very cautious on the technology you can put in-house versus the one you need to outsource. Usually, platform will provide a certain level of technicity, a certain level of technology, technically for free, that you can leverage, and data is one of it. I give you an example on the FARFETCH side. We have the capability for any of you guys to tell you market per market, how much could you sell, how much will you sell, how much your competitors will do. If I look for Margiela on FARFETCH, this is what other brands people have searched. If I buy Patou on FARFETCH, this is other brands that consumer have bought, not only in France or in Italy, but in pretty much 100 countries. There's a lot of value. But from a platform perspective, again, we are not proactively going to tell you, hey, Sophie, you need to reach us out because we are busy. We have a lot of brands to manage. So that's the kind of human relationship designers need to have with the platform. You need to basically treat them as your, roommates, best buddies, or whatever you want. But that's important. Yeah.
I have a question for you all. Is there enough support for young designers?
You should answer this one.
Can you speak one more time for the question?
I guess, here we are. Last night we got to see the 10 fashion designers to watch. Mm-hmm. It is, partially government funded. We have some incredible prizes that are privately funded, LVMH, private companies who are putting towards, and private individuals and sponsors. There is a nice match of both government funding and private funding. But there is only so much prizes around the world that everybody can apply to. There are only so many mentors. And I'm just curious whether you think, is there enough prizes in the world to support incredible young talent in the world? Or should we all be doing more? Maybe I can ask Sophie first.
Now, it's a super difficult question because, I think from a designer point of view, of course, they're going to say, no, that's not enough, I want more, because there are so many designers. I mean, I think there's nearly 2,000 designers applying every year at the LVMH prize, and
wow.
Most of them are, new. They just need to have 2 collections. But
and how much did you select out of 2,000?
We select 20.
20 out of 2,000?
Yes, the semi-finalist is 20.
So harder than getting to Harvard or whatever.
I don't know that.
Probably.
Okay,
yeah.
like Harvard. Yeah, so if you think it this way, you say, oh, well, maybe that's not enough. But on the other side, and I also represent the business side, how many clients buy emerging designers? That's also the questions we have to have. How many emerging designers can we really support and can support a business in the long run? And how many wholesalers are going to buy these designers? Honestly, I think an emerging designer really starting with even a first collection, maybe 50 stores in the world will buy you because they are taking risk. They are losing money at the beginning with you. So, you have only a potential of 50 wholesalers. And on the other side, you have 2,000 brands, and I don't know how many are applying to the U prize, but it's the comparison is telling. So we have to be careful not to put also too many dreams and help too much at the beginning, because what is important is also to help during the development and to be sure that the brands can continue to develop along, with the years, even without the prices, after the prices.
I mean, you know what I think about that question, because we talk about it. No, not enough is being done to support young designers. I think companies like ours have to continue to do it, and I think more and more companies should do it. But as I said in the beginning, not as a PR gimmick, not just to put your logo on a flyer, but to truly dedicate time to meet these designers, to mentor these designers, to advise these designers. I also think it's very important to see a bigger contribution of institutions. I don't even want to say governments, because that's even too big, but institutions. For instance, I think what the Hong Kong Design Center and Fashion Asia here are doing is amazing. So you should be very proud of them and very thankful, because not in every country you have this kind of support and this kind of work.
Maybe we should give a prize to the wholesalers also and support the wholesalers.
Yes, I mean, retail needs support. I mean, through both wallet and spending, but you're right. I think
And especially right now, because when you see the evolution of the industry with large corporation and the famous selective distribution, wholesalers have less and less, carryover hero product to sell, and the margin become less and less. So that could be also reverse support with brands supporting the wholesale like they did pre-pandemic. But this is your call, guys.
well, there are many stakeholders in this industry, right? And I think it is a community and a circular support system. But going back to talent, these prizes have also served, as Antonella has said, as sort of pipelines for bigger creative director roles or collaborations. Peng, the fact that you've got this amazing MM6 collaboration out in stores now was probably a direct result of having met and having this meeting of minds. And I think I'm curious, when you were applying to these prizes, did you apply once, and were people encouraging you, or did you? I'm sure it's not the thing that you want to be doing while building a business. It's a lot of time and effort. But what made you decide, actually, these are the things that I want to apply for?
But in China, there's not so much fundings from our government, and not such many prize. Your prize is one of real prize in Shanghai, because we got the fundings from that. It's easy, because if we won it, it's really good for the staff designers. After we met together, we don't know we can collaborate together, because I think it's like, we are really, really I think Antonella really like my brains, my creativity, my personality, and then we have opportunities to collaborate together. Yeah, it's a kind of really good platform. Even except your prize, Shanghai has a really good platform like Label Who, Shanghai Fashion Week, On Time, and Tube Showroom. A lot of the platforms support us, but it's so difficult to getting the funding. Yeah.
Funding is always the key thing. I've only got 2 minutes left to ask a question, so I'm going to ask each of you, what keeps you optimistic and hopeful in this business? You see so many incredible young talents come through, many of whom succeed, some who don't. But I'd love to know what keeps each of you positive and optimistic about the future of fashion. Who wants to start? Sophie.
Well, yeah, it's very interesting question, a large question. Of course, I mean, I think if we do this work and, we got to know each other yesterday with Antonella, and I think we have the same passion, is really this new generation, and I always think a brand, I mean, what is the key to success for a brand is actually your mission. I think Philip Lim expressed it super well. It comes from the heart. It comes from you. So the new generation of designers, they have something new to say. That's why their brand are going to be successful, because they have a mission. They say something that is different. It's linked to culture, change of culture. New generation have a different culture. It's a change of social, also in the society. We have seen all this genderless in the past 10 years has been so important, and I think it really helped improve the vision of LGBT in the world. I think this is just that creativity linked to the culture is what really gives me hope, because even if not everybody's going to succeed in their brand, they will have given a message that is important to the world, to change the world. And sustainability, of course, is something that I've heard really the first people who were the most passionate about sustainability were the designers.
That's a good point. Antonella?
Well, I think judging from the number of students that every year enroll in fashion design schools, judging from the number of applicants to awards and contests, judging from the number of new designers entering showrooms and fashion weeks all over the world, I feel pretty much safe in saying that the dream of fashion is very much alive. But we have to keep it like that. I know that it's a huge business. I never forget it. But it is an expression, a form of expression first and foremost. And we have to preserve it. We have to preserve the creativity. We have to support however we can, all of us.
Alexis?
Yeah, I give you an example. I was in Saudi Arabia recently. So Saudi Arabia is booming. People are really, expanding their creativity. Female entrepreneurs are raising. However, no matter how hard they work, it's fairly a small market. You have only 15 million people, locals. When you are a designer, an Asian designer, and here at the Hong Kong Design Center or here in Hong Kong, we're in the middle of Asia, the market size facing you is massive. Asia is the most populated continent. Asian customer, on average, will spend the highest percentage of the income in fashion and luxury. So you're going to work as hard as someone in Middle East, in Europe, or in the US, but the market, the addressable market in front of you is dramatically bigger. So I think for fashion designers born in Asia, actually is an amazing luck. And yeah, I will feel comfortable to bet on Asian designers moving forward.
Well then, Peng, you're the last one.
In the future, I think it's better than before. After the pandemic, COVID, people couldn't traveling. We have to stay one place to do the creativity things. Right now, we can travel to Paris, to London, communication together with a different platform, have a talk like 10 Asian designer and Shanghai Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week. It's really, really good platform for young designers to give birth their brain and develop their brain. And fashion design is all of ourselves, and we creative things every day. So future, has a lot of hope for us. Yeah.
Going back to the heart. Thank you. I'm going to take some questions from the audience now. So there's a QR code if you have anyone. Ooh, okay, I've got one coming up already. Lexi, there are thousands of brands on the marketplace. For new brands with limited brand awareness, consumers will not search the brand name on the platform proactively, potentially. What would you recommend to new designers and new brands to stand out in a busy platform?
So the first one is to be available on the platform. That's really the first step you need to do as a designer. And for that, you need to be easy to find, shoppable somewhere, and the somewhere is the wholesalers. You need to sell to the wholesale will sell on the platform. So check the box, you're going to be visible. And then your job is either to be buddy with the platform to participate to the new IPs, to the product placement they're doing on a monthly basis because they need to do all the edits, or to be friend with Tasha and Label Hood and the different boutiques here and there, because at the end those guys will expose you. And especially we mentioned about the split between offline and online. Offline, even if I'm an online business, offline it's easier to have a connection with the end user. So on this, I will say make sure your products are available somewhere, to be close to the wholesalers, the boutique, and the account managers on the platform side.
To Sophie, as a mentoring director of the LVMH Prize, what are the key criteria you look for when selecting the prize finalists and winners? How do you assess their potential for long-term success? And I can also open that up to Antonella, probably.
Yes, interesting. So actually, the LVMH Prize is in two stages. The first is semi-final, and this is a selection like we make from 2,000 application to 20. Applications are open, actually, so don't hesitate.
Get your application in.
And may I ask, do you have a regional selection, meaning I need to take a quota, 3 from Asia,
No.
3 from the US, or just whatever?
We're not quota based, but we do try to ensure balance between, you know, the different regions and the different styles and the different maturity of the brands. Our first criteria is creativity, and I think it always has to be. It's quite easy to apply. We do have questions on sustainability because it's also very important for us. Luxury, because we are a luxury group, so it has to be luxurious. And the craftsmanship is also super important for us. So I would say these are really the 4 main criteria. The regions, really, we are very totally international price, so it's easy to apply, it's digital, and we really try to have a balance. We don't have formal quota, but we will have a balance. We always have Asians, we have Africans, South American, Europeans.
So highly international.
Yes.
And I mean, Antonella, maybe you can answer the second part of the question, because you've also gone through this long mentorship. How do you assess their potential for long-term success?
Not very easy, and there isn't a rule, a mathematical rule that you can apply. Otherwise, we would all have winners. I think what is important in the talent that you meet is the distinctiveness of their vision, how unique it is, how it stands out. I think you need to have a lot of determination. It's not an easy job, guys. It's not an easy industry. It's a cutthroat kind of thing. So you need to, I think Philip said it very nicely when he was talking this afternoon, how much he really believed in it. I want to say there's also a good and important part these days, thanks to the means available like social media, the ability of a designer or an entrepreneur to generate a community around them, to have a following in a way. And again, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter how big, but to have somebody who really understands their message, and then definitely life support system, both from a personal standpoint, having your family, your friends next to you, supporting you, because again, it's a tough business, and being able to create a network of contacts. That's why when we were talking about in our mentoring, it was very much about introducing, cutting steps and getting them in contact with the right people in the fastest possible way. This goes for media contacts, business contacts, institutional contacts, from fashion weeks to whatever. It's really important but we can only do as much. We put it on the table. Then it's on the designer and the entrepreneur, the ability to pick these contacts and make something good out of it. If you shy away from them, there's not much that we can do as mentors.
And I think designers are entrepreneurs are having to become, as Sophie mentioned, sort of the brand ambassadors and public speakers and the face of now. And the last question, I think, for Peng is, how do you balance between being the most creative that you can be, but also being commercial?
It's a really great question because, for the designer, there's a designer see underneath. It's so difficult to balance creative and practically or commercial. But of the things we served for human beings, for people, you have to know why we to create the things. Because fashion designer is not artist. All of things we create, it should be like communication with your consumer, your audience. The people wearing your clothes as much as possible, if we can. But the artist, you're just doing the work by yourself. You're showing your work to one audience is enough. Nobody knows you is enough. But fashion designers, we have to balance creativity and commercial. The first things and most important things should be like we need to observe people's lifestyle, what the young generations, what they are doing now, today we are speaking about, especially the social media is so fast nowadays. People knowing the brain is so fast, but they forget the brain is so fast. It's like 1 minute, I know a brand. Next minute, we forgot it. The thing is, we should be really, really identity and has your own DNA. Then try to learn more some commercial things. The method is really important for us. Yeah.
So be highly, highly individual. That's all we have got time for. Thank you so much to our lovely panelists, and thank you to you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.